Joined now by the national sports editor of the Daily Hive and its Offside Sports vertical, Rob the Hockey Guy on Twitter, Mr. Rob Williams, back with Sekeres and Price. We missed you last week. Good to hear your voice. Good to see you again.
I know. I mean, I kind of wish that I was back on the Fridays, and so we could have talked about Buble and the mushrooms, and there was so much Rob content there.
Right. Oh. Are you microdosing right now?
I am not.
What did you make of the new guy last night?
I mean, I feel like I'm microdosing a little bit watching the Canucks these days because it just everything continues to roll forward, and you know, Kuzmenko goes to Calgary. Of course, he scores in his first game. Like Canucks fans are used to that, but not Elias Lindholm coming in 2 goals for the new team, both on deflections, which I think is significant. I think we heard a lot of talk about what Lindholm brings to the table. I didn't hear a lot of he's going to deflect a lot of shots into the net. And that's key because that's his role on the power play, right? I know there's movement involved, but he's generally going to be, whether it's either he's going to be in the middle somewhere, right? He's either going to be sliding into the bumper, which he can do well, or he's going to be in front of the net, tipping pucks. And so far so good, with his insertion into the lineup.
And then if he has enough fun, maybe he resigns. If they have enough dollars committed, do you think it's possible even before the season ends that they extend him, or do you think that's going to be an off-season thing to look at?
I sense it's probably it'll be off-season just because they've got so many players to deal with and so many contracts. So you probably want to get a sense of where everyone is fitting in, but while saying that, you generally tackle the big contracts first and fill in the rest, right? So I think it's possible. I don't know if we'll see him re-sign in Vancouver, but I think they probably like to see him play a few games, see how he fits in, and if he agrees to a dollar figure and a term that they're okay with, then who knows.
Something, Rob Williams, that I'm quite certain we have never talked about, and I'm not sure we have talked about it writ large here in Vancouver for, a decade plus. Tocchet recently talking about the players buying into their own hype and all the positivity flowing from the Vancouver media.
Media's too positive
about this team.
We've heard this so often.
We're sick of this toxic positivity surrounding the team,
right? Exactly.
Dragging this team down.
That's why nobody wants to sign here, Rob. It's too positive.
Rob, they can't lose their edge here, okay? Stop reading those press clippings, listening to all those podcasts that are talking about how great you are.
In saying that, like, we're having a laugh, but I get where he's coming from, and I think it's maybe not necessarily the Canucks media he's talking about, but the national media is embracing this Canucks team as well. Certainly around, you send 6 players to All-Star Weekend in Toronto. I could see Tocchet's, concern, I guess, in terms of players reading their own press clippings. And time after time after time this season, we have seen this team not get too high, in games where you think, geez, they're going to overlook this team, where maybe Canucks teams of the past would start patting themselves on the back and lose their edge. This Canucks team does not seem to do that. Tocchet won't let them. It seems to be what they're doing. So, I think he's the coach of the year this year, barring something unforeseen down the stretch. And I think he's done a masterful job of kind of always finding something, like not being satisfied and always finding something to kind of key in on, and being really mindful of the Canucks not getting too high, not getting too low, and just, the old cliche, one game at a time, but it's true, right?
One thing,
and also, you got recent examples of great Tampa and Boston teams to lose in the first round. And, this sport is a little different than the others in that you see 8 seeds beating 1 seeds.
That's true.
In the first round. So I think he understands one of the battles going forward here is to not lose the edge and to not, peak now as opposed to in
And the
April.
problem with losing even a little bit of the edge here, guys, is you look at their schedule over this. Let's just go the unbeaten streak here. The 12 games without a loss. Show me the game where the other team was just not into it, was terrible, didn't play the Canucks well at all.
Yep.
I mean, you could. I honestly, I don't know that there is one. They're getting everybody's A game. Nobody wants to be embarrassed by a team that they know scores a lot of goals. Every team is kind of emptying their tank against the Vancouver Canucks these days. They have had to work for every one of these points.
Yeah, there's no secrets around them now. They're not catching people by surprise anymore. I mean, I think the whole league knows it. And, like I say, like you send 6 players to the All-Star game, you get the league's attention, if not, not for the fact that they're winning all these games and seeing them at the top of the standings.
They had all those laughers in the first 2 months of the season, and they've not had any laughers lately.
Yeah, I mean, you go into Carolina and outshoot them like they did last night, and go in there and secure a win in a tight. I think that's the thing that's so impressive about a game like that is it's a tight checking affair. It's a game that the type of game it's not a playoff game, but like more along those lines. This is not like a freewheeling 6-5 win that we've maybe, when the Canucks would win, under Boudreau, it was kind of back and forth trading chances, fire wagon hockey. We're not seeing this team do that. They have the ability to blow a game wide open, but they also have the ability to win these low scoring, tight checking affairs. And if you want to go far in the Stanley Cup playoffs, you have to be able to win different kinds of ways. And I think we're seeing that with this Canucks team.
Yeah, and people talk about how their schedule is tough the rest of the way, and that is true based on the quality of opponent. They also have 9 consecutive home games from March 9th. They get back to Vancouver March 7th from Vegas. They don't leave the city again until April 1st.
17 of their final 28 are at home.
Of course, their record at home has been so sublime that, that'll be a test too in terms of just, are you going to get bored? Are you going to take things for granted? Do you feel like you've got easy 2 points?
As somebody pointed out on social media, though, every one of the games for the rest of the way is against teams below them in the standings. So that's good.
Took me a sec.
Rob, moving along here, the odds makers, they still ain't buying the Canucks.
Yeah, the Canucks are getting disrespected a little bit here, right? Like this is the number 1 team in the NHL, and they're not. They've been that for a little while, and they're not close to number 1 on the Stanley Cup odds. And take with that what you will. For me, this is a testament to how difficult their path is out of the Pacific Division. And if you look at where who they have to beat, you're going to have to go through Edmonton or Vegas, maybe both if you don't finish first. That's a really tough path. And I think that the odds reflect that, where, obviously the Oilers are on the tear right now, and they're kind of the darlings for a lot of sports books. Is the Pacific Division the toughest path to the Cup? Like I think the Atlantic Division for a few years has been that with Toronto and Boston and Tampa, but Boston's not what they were. Tampa's not what they were. The Leafs are. I think you can poke some holes in them. I do think that the Pacific Division is probably the toughest route to the Stanley Cup.
Well, you say the Boston.
Hey, it would take some chutzpah on Tocchet with his history if he created a slight on the odds maker now, wouldn't it?
Yes, right. Yes. Yeah, it would be a little bit of irony.
Gentlemen, the odds makers have you 7th choice.
I've been trying to bet you guys up, but you say Boston's not what they were. Still pretty darn good. We'll find out tomorrow. They laid an egg versus the Flames, so they'll want to erase that. But it turns out any attempt to rekindle this Canucks-Bruins rivalry has water poured onto it in the All-Star weekend by Andrew Ference, of all people, former Bruin, faced the Canucks way back when, and now he's saying no, he wants the Canucks to win. He lives in BC. He would like all of his neighbors to be happy now, he says.
Yeah, our Adam Sekeres, who's our Daily Hive sports writer out of Toronto, was doing a lot of great work at the All-Star Weekend and caught up with Andrew Ference and he asked him about the Canucks pretending to lift the Stanley Cup. That's kind of how this all came about. And you have to read the piece to get the update on that part. But yeah, in terms of Ference living in BC, living on Vancouver Island, says that he'd love for the Canucks to win the Stanley Cup. I don't know if he'd like them to win over the Bruins or not, but
that's right. Yeah,
he's showing a bit of a soft spot for it. And to me, this is is this the official end of the Canucks-Bruins rivalry? I'm not sure, but obviously it's fizzled a bit from 2011.
Well, obviously you missed Thatcher Demko snubbing Jeremy Swayman and JT Miller dissing Jeremy Swayman at All-Star Weekend, Rob. That's what I'm hoping, that something on the ice happens tomorrow to reignite this sucker based on Miller and Demko and Swayman at All-Star Weekend.
I feel shame now forgetting that amazing content of Demko snubbing the hug. That was excellent work.
Oh, you had a hell of a weekend, Rob, and Adam, and everybody at the Daily Hive.
Good content.
And Offside.
Good content.
No, it was right up your alley, and you're right up ours. Thanks for this. We'll catch up next week.
Thank you.
Hey, everybody! If you're enjoying what you're seeing here, then follow along with Sekeres and Price on YouTube. I promise more content coming.
The kids call it subscribe on YouTube.
Well, how about liking it?
Do that as well. Smash it right now.